place, we're going to begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We would like to welcome everyone here today and thank you for coming to the dedication ceremony of our brand new West Greene Hometown Hero Honor Wall. We are very excited to have you here to celebrate our hometown heroes with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank all of you for attending this evening. How about our band? I have to say, we may be small, but we're pretty mighty. I'm pretty proud of those individuals for their work, not just tonight, but throughout the whole season, beginning of the school year. So Mrs. Gardick asked me to do some remarks, and I had to think about what I wanted to talk about. But one thing that was always on my heart was something that came about when Crystal and I had to drop off Ben up at West Point. Duty, honor, country. As many of you know, our son Benjamin is currently a cadet at the United States Military Academy at West Point. The first thing we were exposed to as a West Point family was that motto: duty, honor, country. Five-star General Douglas MacArthur says, those three hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, you can be, and you will be. It's pretty funny because Crystal and I had to watch a video of the entire speech that MacArthur gave because Ben said, you have to watch this. I guess now he thinks he can boss us around. But anyway, before West Point, Ben has always thought about the Naval Academy. We learned that my father was actually a frogman, which is a precursor to the Navy SEALs. We didn't really know that until after he had passed. I learned 3 days later from a gentleman who I worked with from California who was in the Navy, and he said, hey, your dad was a frogman? I said, I don't think so. I see he was in the Navy. But then we obviously started doing some research, and we found that he was. Somebody get that door, please. We found out that my father, Dad, Ralph Jackson, was actually a Navy SEAL. So he thought about the Naval Academy. So I got to thinking about mottos of the academies. So I looked up some of the models of some of the military academies in the United States. Obviously, West Point was duty, honor, country. The Naval Academy, from knowledge, sea power. Air Force Academy, integrity first. Service before self, excellent is all we do. Coast Guard Academy, the sea yields to knowledge. Then I decided to do a little further research into mottos and looked into the branches. Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. I know Coach Walter's here somewhere. Coach Walter, Semper Fi. Army, this will defend. Navy, not self, but country. Air Force, aim high, fly, fight, win. Coast Guard, Semper Paratus, which stands for always ready. Included with that, I decided to go ahead and look further into some of our first responders. The police force, to protect and to serve. Firefighters, Semper Paratus, which is the same as the Coast Guard, always ready. EMTs, to conserve life, alleviate suffering, promote health, do no harm, and encourage the quality and equal availability of emergency medical care. These list of mottos say a lot about the nature of each organization, but it also says how closely alike they all are. They all serve the people of this country, they serve the people of this state, and they serve the people of this community with courage and bravery. Courage. I can remember once when I was coaching wrestling, that was a while ago, a wrestler came up to me and said, hey, I think Troy broke his arm. When I looked over to where Troy was, it was quite obvious that Troy had broken his arm in the shape of a V. Although the V was not here, it was here, in the middle of his arm. And I'll never forget the feeling of panic that I had, to the point where I was very helpless in that situation because I really didn't know what to do. Coach Hughes, on the other hand, Coach Allen Hughes, jumped right in and took care of it. And then, of course, when the EMTs arrived, they took control of the whole situation. What did I take from that? I learned real quick that, number one, EMTs, they have a courage about them that most people don't have. they see things that we don't have. They see a lot worse than broken arms. And I've watched some of the EMTs in our community here work on things that that I was glad I didn't have to go up and take care of. Police officers. I've witnessed police officers run into places of potential life-threatening and serious matters, while people running out, they're running in. I appreciate our police force, and I appreciate our police. Courage. They have courage. In January of 2019, one evening, Crystal came in the house and says, "I think the garage is on fire." We called 911 and began to remove, I began to remove as many objects from the garage as I could, which wasn't very many, because as soon as I opened the garage door, the whole place was engulfed. And we stood there and watched. As the fire grew, it was heading towards the house, and we saw that the house, actually the siding on the house was melting. And so our concern was it was going to catch the house on fire. First person to show up was Nathan Brudnock. He drove his personal truck, parked over in the field, and I'm saying, "Hey Nathan, where's everybody?" Because at that time it seemed like hours waiting for the fire department to arrive. Then Harry Del Gillespie pulls in with the Center Township engine. He probably doesn't remember this, but I was standing there when he pulled in, and our whole driveway was ice. And the truck slid sideways, and I'm thinking, "Oh no, he's gonna run in the house with that thing." But I'm telling you, he stopped that truck, and they jumped out, and I was worried about somebody following, but they just went to work. And it was amazing to watch. And next thing I know, I look around, and there's New Freeport, there's Wind Ridge, there's Graysville, there's Morris Township. It was unbelievable. All those people were at my house at one time working in unity. The fire, it didn't take long to take care of that. They saved the house. They took care of the fire. That day and every day now, those guys, to Crystal and I, are heroes. Mark Twain once wrote, "Courage is the resistance of fear, mastery of fear, but not the absence of fear." So I say when people have courage, that doesn't mean they're not afraid, but they get in there and get after it. These first responders in our community do that, and I've witnessed it firsthand. As a history teacher, I studied, learned, and taught the courage of our armed forces and their willingness, bravery, and courage to defend this great nation. This innate courage is what formed our nation, and the courage of our veterans and those who are serving currently now continue to keep this great nation, this great experiment alive. My father participated in what I consider to be one of the greatest generations, the World War II generation. The courage and bravery that generation had was absolutely miraculous. I continue to feel that way about those who have served since and are serving now. And every time I hear the Star Spangled Banner, I think of such things. Colonel Allen West states that we must never forget why we have and why we need our military. Our armed forces exist solely to ensure our nation is safe, so that each and every one of us can sleep soundly at night, knowing we have guardians at the gate. I am extremely thankful today as we celebrate our hometown heroes. Those who have served, those who are currently serving our armed forces, those who have served, and those who are currently serving as first responders. Bob Dylan once wrote, "A hero is someone who understands the responsibility that comes with this freedom." Through my experiences, I have been lucky to have these heroes in my life. Duty, honor, country, not self, but country. to protect and to serve, semper paratus, always ready, semper fi, always faithful. These phrases have inspirational meaning, and we're glad to know that all of you with us today are courageously behind those words as our hometown heroes. To you, these folks that serve and are serving, we thank you from the bottom of our heart at West Greene. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank each of you for sharing this very special dedication ceremony with me and my West Greene family today. I first introduced my idea of a West Greene Hometown Hero Wall to the administration and school board members a few years back. The support I got was overwhelming. I spent the following year planning, researching, tracking down people, and meeting with teams of people that I volunteered to help me. Just as we were getting to a good place to move forward, COVID wreaked its havoc, and then pressing construction projects around the building needed to be addressed. Some were in preparation for this project. I was becoming frustrated, but I knew that there just had to be a reason this project was taking so much longer than I had planned. I tried to be patient. It's not one of my best qualities. I'm truly grateful for the delays because the honor wall developed into something much better than I would have ever imagined 5 years ago when we got started. While the overall design changed, my original intent remained. I wanted to create an honor wall to serve as a permanent tribute to our alumni, faculty, and staff of West Greene, who have chosen a path of protection for us and our loved ones. Our honor wall is dedicated to military personnel, law enforcement officers, and first responders. It has been a privilege and an honor to be at the forefront of this amazing project, and to see it to fruition. Thank you, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Sakai, for believing in my visions and allowing me the opportunity to run with them for 3 decades now. I'm so proud of our new West Greene Honor Wall, and I'm so happy you could be here today to share this excitement with us. When I initially started reaching out to find alumni, I met a West Greene graduate, Mr. Earl Kennedy, early in the planning. When I explained my mission to him, he expressed how grateful he was for such a project. Within days, I received a check in the mail. He was so happy with the direction we were going that he wanted to help. Mr. Kennedy couldn't be here with us today as he lives in Florida, but his sister, Elizabeth Kennedy, is with us on his behalf. He has a message that he would like to share to the students of West Greene. Elizabeth, thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My brother's very disappointed that he couldn't be here. Dear West Greene students, teachers, and administration, thank you so very much for this tremendous honor. It touches my heart in such a good way. My firm foundation comes from this great school. My education and guidance came from the absolute finest individuals that I have ever known. They convinced me that I could do anything and make a positive difference. If not for them, I would have never entered West Virginia University and furthered my education. They gave me a purpose and the will to achieve. You can do the same. After graduating from West Virginia University during the height of the Vietnam conflict and then being commissioned as a young infantry officer, I was soon fighting on the front lines. Many of the young men that I graduated with at West Greene were doing the same. Many served before I did. They are now your grandparents. As I look back with pride, my life was made better and I became much wiser because of my West Greene High School education. Once again, thank you, Earl Kennedy, Major U.S. Army.
My apologies, everyone. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank Mrs. Garlick and the members of the SGA for organizing this wonderful event. Today is the culmination of much planning and many revisions to Mrs. Garlick's original idea. The end product that we will be seeing has become an area of pride for the West Greene community. It will continue to grow and evolve as we add more hometown heroes. Thank you to the West Greene Board of Education for supporting the ideas of its educators. Thank you to Mr. Jackson and the West Greene administration for their support. Thank you to the West Greene faculty and staff for all of the work you do for our students. Thank you to the students participating in this event. And finally, I would like to thank all of our honorees for their service to our country and our community. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to play the complete slideshow. This is the slideshow that will permanently play on the 2 television screens on the Hometown Hero wall. This is the initial programming, and we will add more entries as they are received. We hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Paul J. Walker. Neil Watson. Chris Clark. James Roberts. Evan Anderson. Charles Jacobs. John Watson. Ronald Montgomery. Zachary Fry. Thomas Cross Jr. Brian Barnhart. Ashley Koss. Dennis Rutan. Patricia Ashcroft. Tyler Baker. Charles Grimes. Benjamin Jackson. Jordan Cook. Jacob Wilson. Gavin Scott. Amber Finch. Mercedes Fry. Terry Grimes. Vernon Sherrich. Dan Usher. Victor Antill. Blair Stewart. Nova Sherrich LeMahieu. Rex Miller. H. Joseph Gillespie. Richard Garrison. Robert Hurd. Brian Henry. Ralph Buck Jones. Denise Denman Bright. Diana Carol Hewitt. Earl Kennedy. Shelby Morris. Isaac Courtwright. Christopher McHenry. Wyatt Whitlatch. Matthew Hildreth. Nikki Rutan McDonald. Zachary Coptas. James Lang. Wyatt Finch. John Buzz Walters. Chad Bedillion. Hillary Sweeney Shipkowski. Larry Stone King. Morgantown, sorry. Charles Justin Beam. Ian Sweeney. Kimberly Denman Baker. Jared Edgreen. Eugene Bright. Glenda Adamson Pierce. Stephen Chimay. Sean Burns. Luke Vitolo. Mary Ellen Koss. Rodney Brister. Roger Milton Todd. Rory Black. Dave Durbin. John Vitolo. Ryan Hanko. Todd Moore. Brendan McGrath. James Watson. Albert Albie Reinhardt. David Whitlatch. Charles Whitlatch. Marcus Sims. Jordan Kiger. Matthew Vaughn. Frederick Smith. Adam Helfenstein. Harry Gillespie. Ronald Whipke. Ronald Davis. James Helfenstein. John Smith. Randy Carroll. Alan Lance Helfenstein. Michelle Whitlatch Greene. Robert Whitlatch. Wendy Lewis Helfenstein. Donald Whitlatch. Lawrence Headley. John Brown. Rudy Vaughn. Thank you all for your service.
We would like for our hometown heroes, along with their families and friends, to remain seated as we prepare to transition to the hometown hero wall for the unveiling ceremony.
We are going to start by dismissing students back to their classrooms. Students will report to period 7. Please wait for a faculty member to dismiss your row.